Hello friends, tonight we're going to compare two excellent striker-fired pistols. We have the exciting new CZ P10C and the modern classic, the Walther PPQ. The PPQ is one of my all-time favorite pistols, and I've had this one for quite a while. It's got maybe, I haven't checked my round count sheet in a while, but I think this one's got about 8,000 rounds through it, and then my CZ here is much newer, and I think I only have about 2,000 rounds through it. In fact, I think it's just under 2,000 rounds. It's probably 1,800 and some change. Either way, both of them have performed very, very, very well. Let's take a look at their features. Both of these guns are similarly sized, being roughly the same size as a Glock 19. They're smaller than a full-size service pistol like a Beretta or a Glock 17 or something like that, but they aren't exactly tiny either, are they? Both come with two 15-round magazines, although 17-rounders are available for each. Both have excellent steel magazines that are built to last forever, but both of the magazines for each are also way too expensive. Let's take a look at what the magazines look like. Steel, orange follower. Steel, orange follower. What do you know? I really like the orange follower thing. I know some people just don't care about it, but I like it. It's a nice extra feature that doesn't have any detriment, so why not, right? The CZ has an ambidextrous magazine release, and you can easily reverse the release on the PPQ. Let's take a look at these. There it is on the other side of the CZ. There, and there. PPQ, you'd have to switch it to the other side. Both have ambidextrous slide releases, however. See, on the CZ, there you go. Well, I guess I was kind of covering it with my finger, but yeah, there it is. PPQ. It's kind of hard to do that from where I'm sitting. Both have excellent front and rear slide serrations. As far as slide serrations go, these two guns have among my favorites. They're nice and deep on both, and they do their job fundamentally. They don't do anything crazy. They just really, really, really work. Unless you consider the deep ones on the CZ being crazy. Yeah, some people might. As far as sights go, the PPQ comes with plastic 3-dot sights that are adjustable for windage, and the CZ comes with lower profile 3-dot aluminum sights that feature that kind of chargeable glow-in-the-dark paint that seems to be growing in popularity with manufacturers. I personally would just rather have 3 tritium vials, 3 tritium dots with every gun. I'm willing to pay a little bit extra for it. I just would prefer that. And in fact, you can see my PPQ is not exactly wearing stock sights. However, I was able to get the CZ with night sights. And I got to tell you, I absolutely love that CZ does that. The price difference was minimal. It was great. Although the PPQ is available with XS F8 sights, which are the ones with the really big dot, which I love, the super huge orange dot. Really great sights with the other smaller dot on the rear sight that you line up below the bigger one. Awesome sights. But I just wish that the PPQ had an option for just like regular old Trijicon Brighton Tufts or something like that. That would be best. Or take a leaf from SIG's book and just include night sights with every pistol. I really think that's what every manufacturer should do, but I'm not knocking CZ or Walther for that. I understand that would make the guns more expensive, but I think a lot of us would be willing to pay $50 more or whatever to make sure that we got those night sights. I think we'd be okay with that. Both of these guns come in interesting and exciting colors. The CZ is available with an FDE frame or a black frame and some other interesting slide choices. There's a kind of white nitride with the FDE that I think is rather attractive. I also don't normally like FDE. This is actually the first FDE item I have ever purchased. I just really like the way it looks. So, yeah, I took it home. The Walther, I think, comes in green FDE and a sort of grayish color. The OD green is very cool. I highly recommend that one. Really, really dig it. Both of these guns have excellent triggers, though the triggers feel very, very different. Both of these guns have very hard surface finishes. The PPQ is classic Tenifer, which is probably, based on my experience with an older Glock that I had, it's probably my favorite finish of all time. That finish was virtually indestructible. And this gun, even though it's had 8,000 rounds through it, do you see any marks? I don't. It looks pretty much new. The CZ has a nitrided finish, which also seems to be extremely durable. I've been rougher on this thing than it looks like. It's fallen on some gravel a few times, and it's kind of had a rough life considering that I've only had it a few weeks. Both of these guns have fantastically ergonomic grips. The CZ does this with a simple shape and texturing in all the right places. The texturing isn't so aggressive on the sides, but rather aggressive on the front and back. They really got that right. Whereas the PPQ has this more molded, futuristic appearance. The PPQ, maybe when you first pick it up, feels a little bit better, but we'll talk a bit more about what practical gains you get from each of these as we go on. Both of these guns have removable back straps. I've never actually changed the straps on any gun I've ever owned. I don't really care if manufacturers do that. Maybe it makes a difference for some people, but it doesn't for me. So I don't know. Do with that information what you will. If the gun doesn't feel great to you in the store, either of these, maybe one of the back straps will help. I have no idea. I can't say much about that. So both of these guns have awesome features. They're absolutely at the top of their class. But how do they feel side by side? Well, the CZ weighs 1.6 pounds more than the PPQ, likely due to this incredibly beefy chamber support and barrel. I don't really notice any difference in weight as I handle them, and both of these pistols are weighted very well. The weight of the CZ seems to be slightly farther forward, which seems to impart superior recoil control, while the PPQ's weight feels like it's more directly over my hand, which seems to enhance pointability, perhaps. But really, both of these guns feel great. Well, let's actually take a look inside both of these and see how they're wearing. We don't really want to compare the wear between the two, as this one has 8,000 rounds through it and this one about a quarter of that. Instead, we just want to look and see how they're constructed inside. And I will warn you in advance, the CZ has not been cleaned. I can't remember it. I don't think it's been cleaned ever, actually. I did later on lubricate it. The first 1,200 rounds were I just took it out of the box and shot 1,200 rounds. I did have pity on it, and I think I put some ballistol on it and maybe some ALG very thin grease on the rails, I think. So let's take a look inside the PPQ first. So these disassemble like Glocks. We'll take the magazine out. And obviously, you want to make sure that your guns are unloaded before you do all this. I mean, obviously. I don't know why I even feel compelled to say stuff like that. For the love of God, I hope you all know that. There we go. And from where I'm sitting, this is going to be a little bit awkward to do, so I apologize. So one of the things that has impressed me most about the PPQ, in addition to the fact that it's just a really awesome gun, is that with all the stuff that I've done to this, look at how little wear there is. Check that out. That is impressive. Frankly, my HKs have not worn as well as this Walther has. And you can see it's constructed, very much like what we're used to seeing from a polymer framed striker fired thingy. Mag out. The P10C is slightly harder for me to do at this angle. My arms are extended all the way out, so I apologize. There we go, much better. Wow, that is super filthy in there. I don't know if the camera's picking that up, but it is truly disgusting. Although I don't really see any actual wear on the gun, though. All of the stuff that you see there is going to just wipe away with a towel. We do, however, have a steel guide rod instead of a polymer one with the CZ. I have never found the material that the guide rod was made of to make any difference with a pistol, however. Look at how beefy this is. Yeah, the barrels don't look very similar between the two. However, the CZ almost is showing zero wear. It almost looks unused. If it weren't for all the junk in there. Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about how the grips feel now that we've taken a look inside. Well, first, actually, let's go back for a second. So looking inside of these, we saw that the quality is pretty much pretty similar there. I bring that up because I have heard people say that they felt like the CZ was sort of a discount option or a lower quality budget option. I don't see it that way at all. Just because CZ is selling it for less, and only slightly less than some of the other striker-fired guns, doesn't mean that it's of lower quality. In fact, this has superior quality to a lot of the other striker-fired guns on the market. I would take this over a lot of other options. So really, as far as construction quality, accuracy, I mean, for what accuracy even means, really. I mean, all guns are more mechanically accurate than we are, but in terms of quality, you can consider these guns to be identical. There's effectively no difference between them. So there's some things that this one does better, and there's some things that this one does better. Anyway, back to your regularly scheduled programming. The grip. The CZ grip is more grippy. The texturing is very aggressive, but kind of in a way that's pleasing. You'll find yourself just wanting to pick up this gun and just feel it in your hand. I guess they're both kind of like that, though. The grip of the PPQ is contoured and, frankly, just absurdly comfortable. It's like a pillow for your hands. It's lovely. The shape is probably superior to the CZ, and the PPQ is just kind of inherently more comfortable to grab. A lot of people say that they feel like the PPQ grip is almost molded to their hands, and the fact that so many people feel that way means that there's some kind of technical wizardry going on that allows that feeling. I would say that the Walther has a more comfortable slide release, but it is too big, in my opinion. My grip is such that I can't find a comfortable way to hold the PPQ that doesn't block the gun from locking open, and I prefer the smaller release on the P99, the PPQ's older brother. But the PPQ's release is more comfortable to activate. Let me show you what I mean. That's pretty much effortless. The problem is, it's effortless. So when the gun goes to lock open, if my thumb is even just resting near it, I'm barely applying any force, and it's preventing it from locking open. So that's unfortunate. It's not a problem per se, but it does happen. I do have to alter where my thumb is, which is somewhat irritating. But this is also one of my favorite pistols of all time, so it's clearly not hampering my enjoyment very much. The CZ closes when you slam in a loaded magazine, which I'm not going to show you here. I don't have any snap caps around. So I haven't really used the magazine release that much. The self-closing action, it kind of took some getting used to, but now that I have some experience with it, it's really increased my rather meager performance. I'm notably faster with that, but it did take some getting used to. It almost slowed me down at first. I felt like it was strange, but now that I've gotten used to it, there's almost no going back, and it does it very consistently. I was worried it was going to be one of those things where sometimes it would, sometimes it wouldn't, but that has not been the case. It works pretty much flawlessly. But I do want to show you the slide release. It's tough. I'm really pressing on it. Yeah, you've got to really want it. But under duress, you're probably going to figure it out. It's not really going to be a big deal. The magazine release on the PPQ is much more comfortable also. You press it with a little force, and it rewards you with a very satisfying click and out shoots the mag. The release is kind of fenced in here so that you don't hit it accidentally, and I never hit it without meaning to. However, it is very easy to activate, and you certainly could spring the magazine from the gun accidentally, I guess, much more easily than with the CZ. With the CZ, we have a very stiff, very tactile, and audible magazine release. I hope it's coming through how much louder that is. It really tells you that the magazine is coming out of the gun. So when you're dry firing at home, this magazine release is a lot less comfortable to play around with, but it excels under pressure when you're moving fast at the range. The force required to activate the release becomes an asset. You won't be likely to activate this one without intent. So in my opinion, both the slide release and the magazine release are superior in any situation in which you're under duress, be that, you know, in some sort of defensive situation, God forbid, or you're just under the pressure of the clock at the range. The sights on the CZ manage to be low profile, very precise, and easy to acquire all at once. It's kind of the holy trifecta there. I really, really, really like these sights. These are probably my favorite stock night sights that I've ever seen on a gun. And this gun shoots like a laser pointer. I'm not really sure what that means, but that's what it does. The stock plastic sights on the PPQ were totally fine. I used them for a while. And the greatness of the windage adjustability, which you can see right there, I can't overstate how awesome that is. This gun is very precise, but I get better hits with the CZ sights. That's going to come down to personal preference. The triggers are very interesting. They couldn't feel more different, though I'm pretty sure that both of these guns have the pre-cocked strikers, if I recall correctly, which I probably don't, but yeah, I think they're pre-cocked. The Walther has the best trigger of any striker-fired gun on the market that I'm aware of anyway. It's just the best. It's not even a contest, really. So you feel this very smooth and clean take up. You can hear a little creak in it, but I can't feel that in my finger. It's just something that's audible. It's not really gonna bother you. So you have this very smooth and clean take up until you reach a tactile and even audible wall. In fact, hear it click in. Yeah. There's a tiny bit of creep as you push through the crisp resistance. And there's no over travel. The reset is short. You can feel it, and it's loud, depositing your finger right back at the edge of the lovely firm resistance wall. Once more. That's a good trigger. The CZ trigger, on the other hand, feels more like a traditional striker gun trigger, like a Glock. Only it's the best example of that sort of trigger that you've ever felt in your life. You feel smooth, clean, and effortless take up. It's very easy to get to that point. Then you meet the wall. It's firm, but it has some give, kind of like you're pushing the wall itself back with your effort. This feeling is kind of hard to describe. You might call it creep, and I suppose it is, but it's crispy creep, which sounds like the absolute worst, grossest donut chain. Yeah. What'd you bring to work this morning? Well, I brought you a box of crispy creep. Oh yeah, my favorite donuts come from crispy creep. All right, that's enough about crispy creep. So we reach this wall here. Push back against the wall, and then we get a clean and incredibly satisfying snap once we push the wall back, if that makes sense. It's so satisfying, it almost makes me hungry for that sweet, crispy creep. Or maybe I have pica or some kind of vitamin deficiency. I don't know. Either way, I really like pulling this trigger. The reset feels like it might be a hair shorter than that of the PPQ. The reset is definitely more tactile and audible. So somehow, CZ has managed to make a trigger that is both very forgiving and very precise. You can reverse course and decide not to shoot at any point when you're pushing through that wall without losing any feel. So that forgiving nature really gives this CZ kind of the perfect defensive trigger. It's nice having that sort of that option to say, hey, you know what? I'm not taking this shot. It's great. But how do these differences between the guns work in the real world? Well, we took a look at how they were built inside, so we know that they're both incredibly high-quality handguns. It's mostly just going to come down to what matters to you most. And really, whichever one of these you pick, you're getting an awesome gun. In a way, it's just going to come down to whatever feels best in your hand. The weight difference is pretty minimal, but I will say that the PPQ points more naturally. Picking up the CZ, you kind of feel as though the grip angle isn't quite natural, sort of like a Glock. But with the weight further forward and the grip angle the way it is, it makes for a gun with minimal recoil. The CZ just shoots faster than the Walther. It just does. The CZ has a lower bore axis and the slide is smaller. You can kind of see that. The slide is much taller on the Walther and the barrel sits lower in the CZ. I'm not one of those bore axis snobs. Not at all. As you know, if you've watched any of my videos, if you're one of the 4 people that have watched them, some of my favorite guns have a pretty high bore axis. But the Walther does impart more recoil than this particular gun. But it's worth noting that both of these pistols are very easy to control and shoot very fast. The CZ is just a little bit better. The grip of the Walther is more comfortable to touch. You just want to scoop this thing up and take it to the range at your earliest possible convenience. In fact, just handling it today makes me want to take it to the range as soon as possible. But the lack of intense texturing makes for muscle fatigue over the course of a very intense practice session, as you're kind of straining to maintain your tight grip on the gun over the course of 600 rounds. Under normal circumstances, this won't be a problem, but it is inherently more taxing on your muscles to hang on to a slicker object. You have to increase force to make up for decreased friction. So I will find that my hands just get tired a little bit sooner. The grip of the CZ is very simple, and it might not strike you as being remarkable when you first feel it, but the contour of the back here, the rounding on the sides, and the intense texture pattern makes for a very stable grip. Your grip is not going to move with recoil, and you don't have to put as much force on the gun because it's kind of locking it into your flesh with the texturing there. Your grip's not going to move with recoil, and that's a big part of why this gun is sort of effortless to control. I've noticed that the texturing will rub my palm raw over the course of very intense practice sessions, but this doesn't really become a problem until I'm hundreds of rounds in, and it's usually time to stop by then anyway. But it's kind of a small price to pay for how little recoil there is here. I don't really mind. It doesn't much bother me. The CZ's mag release and slide, like we said before, are really stiff compared to the PPQ. The PPQ is effortless to use, and it's a joy to play with while doing some dry fire practice. But your opinion of the CZ will switch when you hit the range. In the heat of the moment, the CZ's stiffness aids big, gross motor motions, giving you speed and ensuring that you don't make a mistake and slow yourself down. Every control on the PPQ makes some kind of loud click, or it vibrates the gun in some sort of way that you can feel what's happening. This gun just tells you exactly what it's doing and how and why. And it sort of becomes an extension of your hand. You don't have to think much about the CZ. Whereas the PPQ, it really rewards finesse and feels like a precision machine. Don't get me wrong, the PPQ is a breeze to shoot fast and to reload fast and is just a general pleasure, but the CZ feels more built for business, I guess. Final thoughts. What does it all mean? Which should you buy? The PPQ is more fun in many ways. It's more pleasing to touch. The trigger is objectively better, and the controls are probably more user-friendly. But when you're running the CZ hard, and you're in the groove, and it's in the groove, it becomes more than the sum of its parts. You notice why all of these small design decisions were made. Instead of being another brownish and blackish gun, it becomes this like demon of speed and fury. It's pretty awesome. These guns are kind of hard to compare. If you're one of the 4 people who has watched one of my other videos, you'll know that I'm going to tell you to just get both pistols if you can. You really need them both. But if you can't get both or just don't want to get both, I would say this. If you're looking for something fine and you like fine things, buy the PPQ. It feels more as if the Glock idea was executed by Gucci. It's luxurious, it's pleasing to the senses, and I shoot it better than most other guns. But the CZ might be the best striker-fired gun ever made. The small, sometimes unremarkable things come together to make a gun that feels as though it just grew out of my hand one day. There's nothing quite like it. I don't know if I shoot anything that's not my Beretta better than this gun. It's really remarkable. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a wonderful evening. Good night. Oh, hi, I didn't see you there. Thanks for watching my video. We learned a lot, we thought a lot, we hugged a lot, cried a lot, and made some new friends. It meant a lot to me too. If you enjoyed this video, learned something, or just thought I was a total jackass and would like to see more, please hit that subscribe button. It helps me out a lot. Thanks. I'll talk to you all soon. Good night.